Hello, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to PAX and welcome to the Black in Game Audio Panel. My name is Raheem Jarbo. I will be moderating and introducing you to a few amazing musicians who will tell you all about their experiences in the game audio field. But first, a little intro. When discussing racial inequality in America, it's often said that minority groups have to work twice as hard to get half as far. In spite of a public commitment to diversity, Black talent continues to be severely underrepresented in a largely homogeneous game industry. And the game audio community is no exception. I'm here with a group of Black game audio professionals that will be discussing their experiences, hardships, and however their lives have changed in the wake of an unprecedented 2020 year. So let's get started with some introductions. Let's start with John. Go ahead, give them what you got.
All right. So my name is John Smith. I'm a composer and sound designer. Decided I wanted to write music when I was 13 years old and have since gotten into the industry a little bit. I am finishing up the soundtrack to a game named Calico, which is all about magical girls running a cat cafe. And in addition to that, excuse me, I'm one of the community organizers of a video game music sort of industry Discord called Beats to Play Games To. Also founded the Black and Game Audio Discord. And yeah, that's about it.
Let's move to Calbert.
How are you doing? I'm Calbert Warner. I have worked on several independent titles. I am also a co-founder of a tech startup that we make games, apps, and animations for clients, such as Gary Vaynerchuk. We've worked with people like Ellen DeGeneres. We are called JumpButton Studio, and I also make a lot of tutorials for up-and-coming composers who are interested in getting into game audio.
Right.
Where am I from?
Oh, where are you from?
Oh, Bronx, New York.
Bronx. All right. I'm sorry, I don't think I asked John. Where are you from?
So I'm originally from Augusta, Georgia, but I'm calling in from Seattle.
Okay. Chase.
Hi, I'm Chase Bethea. I was born and raised in Chicago. I'm based in LA. I've been working in the industry professionally for 9 years and shipped 18 titles since then. Most notably, my soundtrack for Ground with 3 million players is the most recent thing that I've done to date, with a follow-up to Potions Please, which will be coming out later this year. I'm also a steering committee leader for IASIG, and I'm happy to be here with all of you today.
Dorrell.
Hey, I'm Dorrell. I'm from London. I've been writing music for about 7 years now. I write music for games and animation. I worked on Onto Master, which was fully funded on Kickstarter last year, and recently have worked on Only Fighter Yasuke, which has been funded by Rockstar, a short game by Waking Oni Games.
Awesome. Okay, and last but certainly not least, Devlin.
Hello. I'm Devlin Samuels, game composer, of course. Also percussionist, drumstick master as well. I've been writing music since 2013, and I've been drumming and going crazy with that since 7th grade, if you take. Also on the side, I do beginners Japanese lessons for my students. I'm also a teacher. And last but certainly not least, insane Mega Man fan and work with YouTuber Reploid Revo, of course. Make music there as well. Nice to meet you.
Very good to meet you, fellow drummer and Mega Man fan. We should be best buds. Now, so let's just kick it off, starting with, I think, the acknowledgement of Black presence and talent within the industry. So I have to ask you the question that everyone's asked me every single time I've talked, which is, how has the ridiculous year of 2020 affected your career, your workflow, or maybe even personal, if there's anything that you want to share about that, but whoever wants to jump in.
So it's been absolutely wild. I don't know how many people are aware of it, but I think all of us here are kind of aware of the fact that when the protests and things started happening, there was this surge online of like a search of people like looking for black talent, right? Which for me, you know, I'd been at, like I said, I decided I wanted to do game music when I was 13. So, like, that's been the central focus of my life pretty much. But I have, in the last couple of months, gotten, like, more attention and activity than I have, like, my whole life, basically, right? It's been wild, and it's been wildly, like, great for my career. Like, I'm pursuing some of the biggest opportunities of my career, actually. I forgot to mention, which is crazy to me, but I launched a game studio with a couple of my friends, and like we're trying to get funding for the studio, like funding that came into existence because of the response to all of the things that have happened, right? Like I sold a bunch of pre-orders for a soundtrack, which I never would have imagined in the past, right? So that has been like, it's been this sort of bittersweet thing, right? Like it's been nice to have all of these opportunities, but at the same time it's also been like, but wait, like something terrible happened, which is like why this attention is kind of coming to me, and you have mixed feelings about that. And it's like you're pursuing the opportunities, but you're also trying to make space for yourself emotionally in the wake of that, but like still having to put your best foot forward. And yeah, it's been a ride, is what I'd say.
For sure. I feel like a lot of us have definitely seen changes from that. I mean, just uh, outside of the pandemic, you know, changing a lot of things in our industry, but yeah, like the uprising of like social justice causes has been, you know, there's been some positive out of that. So can anyone else speak to that and what you've seen over the past few months, maybe?
Whew. I'm with you on that one, John. I mean, it's crazy because I'm a little bit different in the sense that I've been a lot more withdrawn this 2020. I think that in terms of career moves, I have noticed an explosion in DMs and just emails like, "Hey, would you want to work on this? Would you want to work on that?" And I've had a different kind of response to it. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably not the best, but I've just been a lot more withdrawn. So I haven't been taking them. I've been kind of just mental healthing it. You know, I've been like, you know what, doing my own projects and just working on things that I really wanted to work on all this time, and just have a free space to not think about any potential ulterior motives this person may have had. And it's nothing. It's no like disrespect to anybody. It's just like my personal take on it. I completely thank them for reaching out. I just think that I needed to reset my batteries. Like it was just too much happening. I was getting pulled from all different types of directions. And yes, on one hand, it's beautiful, and I love that I'm actually visible now, right? As opposed to before. It's nice to know that hey, people now know that I exist. But at the rate it was happening, it was just too much all at once. So I just had to like slowly trickle down. That's how I feel about it personally, though.
I felt a little bit of the same, you know, like I've never really known how to accept, you know, things like that. Like it's great. It's always great to be working, but at the same time, you don't want to feel like you're getting a handout. You don't want to feel like you're getting something for the wrong reason. So yeah, there's definitely that inner struggle that happens. But I think being able to be or say that you are a working musician, I think is a great a great thing.
Mhm.
So being able to even have the luxury to kind of fall back and be a little withdrawn, I think is good. So, question I want to send around: do you feel that Black game audio presence and talent is acknowledged or encouraged overall in the industry? Dorrell, you have a
No, no, I don't. I don't feel like it's encouraged or acknowledged at all. Sorry, this is how it is. The thing is, I'm from London, UK. There's a smaller percentage of the black population in this country. I think it's about 3%. So it's not a lot at all. And when it comes to acknowledgement in games, often when we say, if we are acknowledged, it's for stereotypes. Oh, I work on video games. Oh, cool, you do hip hop music. No, I'm a video game composer. I write for orchestra. Oh, I know a guy that needs hip hop music. I can connect him. And it's like, no, I haven't said anything on that. And it's it's not a problem to do that as well. And there are plenty of people who do that. But the fact is that the only acknowledgement we get when it comes to being black in game audio is based on stereotypes. And then if we don't, and if that's even if we don't get acknowledgement, that's it. We're not even a thought in most people's heads. When they're creating games and stuff, they don't think, hey, oh wow, I know this guy and he composes. It's completely separate. It's completely separate. So that's my opinions on that specifically.
Would you agree? Do you feel like it's kind of overlooked and not encouraged, and also like do you feel kind of stereotyped and pigeonholed as a black person in game audio?
I've typically found that if it depends on who you're talking to, and it depends on who you meet and the navigation of such. So and you can typically almost feel it's almost something innate within some of us in the culture that understand this, whereas that person doesn't take you seriously, and you can almost feel that. And then if you have that intuition, you're able to then be like, okay, thank you, and then you move on until you kind of find the person who does take you seriously in that matter. Initially, though, like as Dorrell was saying earlier, it is stereotypical most of the time, and it's very unfortunate. But what I've done in my own experience is I immediately correct them, and I say, no, this is how I am, and I'm very serious about it, so they understand that you will take me seriously. This is what I do. I didn't say anything else. This is how I'm presenting myself.
That's good. Okay. So I want to take it back a little bit for each of you. If you can give me a brief story about when you knew, like, okay, I am a game composer. Like either when like your first game shipped or you got your first like good gig. Like, what was the moment where you realized, like, all right, I am a composer. I belong here. Is there any particular moment? John.
Oh boy. Oh, it's I mean, you said that phrase like I belong here, and I'm gonna be honest with you, like I don't think I've had that moment yet, right? Like I have a lot of defiance, like whether or not I belong here, I'm gonna be here, and people are gonna have to deal with that however they want, right? But I don't know. I don't know. I will say like I don't have like any extreme feelings of belonging. I'll say that, but I will say that at the last PAX that I was at, I did spend a lot of time hanging around the Calico booth, and that felt very nice, and it felt very friendly and encouraging and inviting. But like that felt more like spending time with my friends, like in the industry, which is what I've been doing, and which is what I will keep doing, right? But I don't know that I feel any sort of acknowledgement from the industry overall that says like you are supposed to be here, you know?
Anyone else want to chime in on that?
For me, when I realized that you can write music for games, it was two separate things. I was studying music in school and I was playing games, and it just hit me one day. I was like, wait, you can do this for a living. So then I Googled tutorials. That's where I came across Calbert's tutorials on how to write video game music. And I was like, whoa, he's black. I was like, it wasn't initially because he would use this robot face. And, that's how he was known. So then I thought, okay, well, black people can, we're allowed to write video game music. I didn't know we were allowed. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's just no representation, not many whatsoever. But, I came across his tutorials and that kind of stuff. And then, eventually I started working with people. The people that hired me were from minority backgrounds. Actually, only those people that have hired me. And then, when I got my first product out there, that's when I thought, hey, I can actually do something. I can actually be part of this. But it wasn't really whole. It wasn't really 100%. Not until recently, with a lot of the problems that have been coming up in the last few months. And what happened is my Twitter followers tripled. People were sharing my video game music. Tripled. And I was just like, this is crazy. Maybe people do care. Like maybe people do listen. So I felt like I belonged, but then that feeling disappeared after 3 weeks. So
Yeah. I mean, I've had first, I just want to share my aha moment. Like, oh yeah, maybe I can do this. Because I'll be like in high school making beats or whatever, as well as going crazy on snare drum and stuff. But I was always inspired by the game music that I heard, especially when I got my Mega Man Anniversary collection. That's just it. Like my brain is just constantly playing all those tracks on repeat. And I was playing Dot Hack GU one day, and I was not a fan of RPGs at the time, but when I was listening to the music and I was corresponding with all the emotion and what the characters were going through at that time, it just hit me, and I was like, maybe, just maybe, I can write games for music, but and it really hit me, or yeah, it really just hit me when I got my first project. It was a school project, but it started off with as just friendship, and it was like, oh yeah, we need a guy, and everything just came natural. I composed just according to the artwork that they gave me, but I kept doing that. As far as the feeling of belonging, no, that's totally absent. I'll just be completely honest. Though I'm just like, no, I'm going to be a game composer, regardless of how I look. But when everything started happening with 2020, just going back to that, my following went up. The EP that I had posted months before I'm getting notifications. Oh yeah, they bought this, they bought that. I'm like, oh, it is great, but at the same time, it's like double-edged sword because it came out of a very bad situation. Plus, one backtrack one more to a previous question as far as representation. Yeah, I don't think we are represented or even really wanted much in the industry unless they want something that is based on stereotypes of Black people. Because people really didn't even know about us. And it takes just a little bit of digging, but the digging only started after the George Floyd murder happened and then died out afterwards some weeks later. So, a Black life being taken away, which isn't new to us, just turned out to be a huge trend, and a lot of people got a lot of following, really showing how much they cared, and now that it's over with, it's on to the next thing, but
That's deep.
Yeah, that is deep. I definitely wanted to get to that, but I figured this might be as good a time as any. I want to talk about empathy and creating an emotional space for Black trauma. So, and for any of you, have you felt safe speaking about your experiences as a Black person in America, and let alone a Black person in game audio spaces? Has that ever been a thing that you felt comfortable speaking to either coworkers or other folks about? Calbert?
Definitely not. Well, I could say this. I think it's more like there are things that definitely happen, but I don't think it's. I don't go to public platforms to talk about it. I really just stick to like a very niche group of individuals who definitely look like me, because I think there are certain microaggressions that definitely happen. I had working with a couple of clients that they just didn't know any better, or they would just say certain things that they thought I was okay with. And things like that definitely happen, and like I don't want to be that guy who goes on Twitter and like writes an essay about it. I just never wanted to be that person. But there are definitely things that happen, and I'm just like, I don't think this would have happened if I looked the way I did. And I think that's kind of my reality. It's like kind of the game we have to play in a sense. But I think it's getting better in terms of just like opening up and just talking about your experiences. But I haven't had anything as negative as that happening twice. But the fact is, it can happen, and I think when it did happen, I definitely didn't feel like there was a space for me to just go to and talk about it.
Anything like that from you?
What?
John, have you had any? Same question.
Yeah. It's that. I mean, I would agree with that. Like, nobody wants to be that guy. Like, that's exactly the feeling that I have, right? Like, I've had things happen. I did take to Twitter and write a thread recently. Like, because of everything that's been happening, I feel now empowered to kind of like speak up a little bit, like a little bit. Like, all right. Here's an example. Here's my example for the day. So I remember, and in the event that this person sees this, like, I know that nothing offensive was meant by it. Also, I would like to add that I felt like I needed to say that, right? And I intellectually don't think I need to say that. Like, I don't need to offer that to the universe, right? Before I say something that for me was very unpleasant. Like, I can just share it, but emotionally, I feel like I need to do all of this stuff, like, before I can even describe my experience, right? So, like, that's kind of an aside. But anyway, person was making a video game, let's say, and the video game starred a person, well, it featured a person of color to a certain extent, and this developer asked me, like, hey, what color is the inside of your hand, right? Like, is it the same color, or like, is it a little bit lighter? Like, how does it look? Like, he'd had so little experience with people of color and their hands that from an art referencing standpoint, he like needed me to answer that question, right? And your face.
Wow.
Just like,
Yeah, his face. I had to keep it straight too. But,
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I
I don't
mean,
have a good focus.
right?
I'm sorry.
See, no, that's a reasonable response to that. But like in the moment I was like, like we're here to make a game and I just showed you some music and like I don't have time to reflect on how absurd that is. So I was like, yeah, no, it's lighter. Like and like, I mean, I guess like is it reasonable to not know that? I don't know. I don't even have time to think about it.
That's a whole other panel.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Yeah. All right, I'll try to lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Sort of. Let's talk about. Well, this isn't lightening it up much, but networking while black. This is something that I guess we've all experienced. And speaking of unpleasant, I guess, work situations, let's see. Have you ever felt pressure to be more white or maybe less threatening, less boisterous, less loud, and, shrinking yourself or your ideas in a situation? And maybe I would love to get a couple of examples from you guys. So, Chase, anything?
well, I'm gonna be real. I've kind of been ostracized from my own culture for speaking white since I've been born. So I've had a European upbringing. My mom's from the UK, and my father is African American. So I only fit in on like the north side of Chicago. But when I was on the south side of Chicago, we were learning words, that were like predicament, and they were like using big words, and I'm like, we just learned that yesterday.
Chill.
I'm so serious. That is a true story. So I've never felt the pressure of such. I had to really understand at an early age who I am and where I'm going to be. And my parents raised me to understand, hey, you're a minority American in this country. You're going to face these things. And so I was raised with this knowledge of understanding where I sit in this space. Having that knowledge allowed me to be able to go into these things early and not have that mindset. So if I've experienced stuff, I'm experiencing uncomfortability from the other side, not from where you know what I mean? I'm not going into it with an uncomfortable feeling. They're feeling uncomfortable because I'm coming into their space. And that's something that, like I said, I'm very thankful for my parents for, to say like, hey, look around you. You do belong here and you'll be all right. And I'm like, okay, cool. Because I was introduced to those spaces at an early age in that regard. It's unfortunate that everybody doesn't have that, upbringing and such. And so, that's why I'm happy to be on this panel, because I'm telling every one of you, yes, you belong here, because after any race, for whatever reason, it's a human race, and that's what counts forever until aliens come down and drag us up somewhere else. We can start talking about something different, but until then, no. That's all. It's just been a challenge of visibility, but not a challenge of belonging, to understand exactly what you are, because our work should always speak for itself, and it should be for that forever.
Nice. Just to respond to that, aliens at this point are scheduled for about November of this year.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, no,
that's
this is the
perfect.
year.
That's my birthday month. Let it happen.
Our birthday month.
Yeah,
What about this one? About
boy.
we should be
December,
getting
though.
snatched up any moment now at this point. So let's see. I want to ask. It's interesting. I love the fact. That's why I wanted to know where everyone was from, just to get a different perspective on your upbringing and where a lot of these different things fall. And it's been really cool to see different perspectives on that. So Devlin, do you have any experience where you're maybe feeling pressure to be less black, less hip hop, less whatever you are, in order to either gain a job or a networking opportunity?
Definitely. So, and this goes beyond game audio. This is just jobs in general. If I let's see, and it can be on both sides, unfortunately. Like what Chase was saying, if we're in a certain area where we are around a lot of people who look like us, and we're speaking, properly or like this, then it's, ew, why are you talking so white? And before I get into the whole professional experience, both sides have this belief in the stereotype, and it's so strong that when a lot of individuals in a lot of professional fields see us and we're not using slang, it's a surprise to them. And they'll see us with, potential, or maybe, oh, he's very articulate. So like it can never just be equal with everyone else. And then if it's a lot of people who look like us, they're falling for a lot of the stereotypes as well, to where it's like a whole belief system. They think that there's something wrong, that you have to act this way, and it's like a whole enslavement of the mind thing that's deep. And that's another panel. But so in the professional field, yes, I do feel that way. I've experienced it myself when not just the way I speak, but even my tone of voice. So if I use I have to bring it up a lot more, and speak kind of higher like this. It makes people feel more comfortable. The intuition that a lot of us have, you can feel how comfortable they are when you change it up. You're not saying anything different, just raising that tone just a bit, and their shoulders go down a little bit more. They become more relaxed, and it's like, but
But I don't have braids.
why?
Only braids do that. Continue. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. There was but when we are, in my experience, when I don't change it up immediately, which I don't know, maybe I shouldn't do that if I want a job, but sometimes I experiment just to see what kind of reaction I would get out of individuals. I went to a networking event in Chicago last year in March, and there were a couple other Black males, but I wasn't speaking with them in this particular conversation. And, I was just using my normal voice. So, oh yeah, hey, how you doing? And things like that. And we were talking because they were speaking to their other peers just that same way. But they immediately did not take me seriously. Other people came in, kind of just threw me out of the conversation, completely interrupted me while I was still talking. I even gave the facial expressions like, doing this. And I'm like, are we really doing this right now? And then they started talking about beers and the vacations that they went on and the yachts they were on. And I'm like, this isn't even about games anymore. So I kind of just excused myself from it. That was my most recent experience. But yeah, it happens.
Wow. Oh, I'm sure we could write a book on all the very interesting interactions we've had at these different networking events and things like that. So I'm glad that I think just even I don't know if it was just kind of in passing. Was it John who mentioned having the Discord and a lot of other spaces to speak and to feel safe speaking about the things that are going on, so you don't necessarily have to run to Twitter or somewhere and then just deal with all that stuff. So I think it is very important. So I would state that anybody that is watching this that would be interested, hit up John or anybody on this panel about different safe spaces that you can join and be a part of to continue to add to the conversation of the things that we are chatting about. So I want to really lighten it up here and go around the room and ask you, what was the first game soundtrack you heard that made you say, like, I want to do this? I probably know Devlin's, but I want to make sure I know that from the rest of you. So, Calbert, what's the soundtrack you heard that where you were like, yeah?
This is the one that, okay, so this is crazy because, I mean, as much as Final Fantasy VII gets the acclaim, and I love the soundtrack for 7, Final Fantasy IX did it for me. Like, I remember You're Not Alone, that track played, and that was it. Like, I made up my mind at that moment, literally at that moment. I'm like, this is too much. And it's coming off of the heels of a lot of years of like playing really good games with soundtracks. I remember even Super Nintendo era, we had Donkey Kong Country, we had Super Mario, Castlevania, and these were kind of the building blocks for me. I was always in the sound test menu listening to the music before I actually played the game. And at this point, I knew I had a problem. Like, I think I was too attached. And I was like, okay. But I never thought about, like, I want to do this. But then that song played, You're Not Alone, and I'm like, this Uematsu guy, who's on my on my wall right now, I've gotta do this. I've just got to do it. And, like, that was it for me.
Wow. Okay, John, what was yours?
Sonic 3 and Knuckles. The Sonic the Hedgehog series, the Genesis soundtracks, man, they're so weird, and the FM chip, like the Genesis, I just love the sound of it. The melodies are super strong. It's just, that is what did it for me. Like, the Sonic music is always excellent, and I can't get over it. I got like some Sonic art in here somewhere, like signed prints. So good.
Wow.
Even the Sonic fan game music is just as good. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. Wow. Okay, Chase, what's your game?
Dang, I don't have one, but I got 3.
Okay.
No, as a child, like Calbert was saying, I was in the sound test for my Game Boy. I was playing Final Fantasy Legend 2, also known as Saga 2. And it was Kenji Ito and Yamatsu, who collaborated on that. But I was just like, put it up on the bookshelf, that was my radio. And then from there, it was just 2 more games. It was the God of War from PlayStation 2 era, and then Shadow of the Colossus, Koatani. Those were it.
Okay. Devlin, if there is a different answer besides Mega Man, I will not be accepting it. But what's the soundtrack for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like it's too predictable because I was in a sound test for a very long time. Every time I got a new Mega Man game, of course, I let the menu and everything play, and I went straight for the sound test before starting every single game. And then aside from Mega Man, like I had mentioned before, Dot Hack was also the RPG game. I was like, whoa. So, Mega Man 6, definitely.
6 is great, underrated. Mega Man was so cool because I think it was the first game I remember where you paused the game and the music kept going. And that was just like I would walk away to get a drink or something and come back and be like, oh man, this is jamming. And I had this recorder, this little kid quarter. It was this bright yellow and red recorder, and I would sit it next to the TV and just hit record and just let it just run. And then I would take the cassette with all the Mega Man or Sonic soundtracks, put it in my Walkman, and go to school with it.
Yeah.
And people would be like, "What are you listening to?" I'm like, just some, some hip hop, some raps, And I had to the point where I had to write like rap jams on the label on the cassette, just so like people wouldn't be like, "Oh, this weirdo is listening to Sonic music in the middle of class," So yeah, so like later on, I'd flip the tape and put like, okay, I'll record some hip hop stuff on the other side, and then when they came and asked me what I was listening to, I hit the auto reverse button.
Man, you should have owned that. I was rapping the Sonic Adventure levels in 2001.
Yes.
You should have owned that. Yeah, I was
really
rapping.
should've.
I was freestyling the Sonic Adventure on Dreamcast to it. You should have owned it. No shame.
I was so shy about that stuff. Now, I've seen a lot of people tell me that they started rapping on Sonic beats. Real talk.
Sky
Those
Chase?
rhythms. They used
Sky
that FM
Chase,
chip,
Sonic
man.
Adventure.
Yo.
So good.
Nice. So I got some chat questions. Normally, if we were at PAX, we would take this time and we'd get people to line up and all that stuff. So now there's a virtual line of people. There's 1,000 people who wanted answers some questions. So now I can only pick a few of them. So I picked these questions from either Discord or Twitter or Facebook. So here's one that, a tech question. I like this. Someone asked, what DAW are you guys working with right now? Devlin, what are you working with?
Logic.
Nice. So am I. Chase, what are you working with?
Cubase.
Dorrell?
I was working with Logic until my MacBook blew up.
Oh no.
So,
No.
Yeah. I use Cubase 2 months in now.
Wow.
Nice. Cal, what are you working on?
FL Studio.
Oh hey. All right.
That's my old school DAW.
See?
Nice. John?
Logic. That's right. That's right.
Quite a few Logics.
Did a little Cubase for a bit, but Logic's where it's at.
Nice. So I got a question here. Someone says, pardon me if this is silly, but what does it feel like to see yourself represented in games? And are there any AAA games right now that are doing a really good job in representation in that respect? Anyone want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I was. Oh wait, you want to go?
No, please take the floor.
I got Monster Hunter 2 years ago. It was a demo on PS4, and I was shocked that I could be a black character. I was shocked. Monster Hunter World. I'm a big fan of the game series.
Yeah.
Played it for years. And when I was choosing, it was the default character. You had 3 or 4 default characters that you could choose in the demo, and one was black. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is the first time I've ever seen this. Wow. There could be some more adjustments to it, and they did. When they updated the game, they adjusted the hair, they adjusted this and that, so they've listened to feedback. And, it's called Monster Hunter World. You're going to have everyone in it. Might as well put in something.
It's not Monster Hunter Montana. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh god.
I'm impressed with that. Monster Hunter World is the first one of those that I've played. And so when I saw a black character, I was like, oh, that's cool. But I didn't realize that there had never been that in the series at all. So
no, it's really Japanese kind of market game. They always make hits in Japan, but it's really niche outside of it. But I think around some point in 2008, afros were cool. So they had an afro in the old games. But...
Nice.
Okay.
Funny you mentioned Montana. I did go to Montana 2 years ago, and when I got to the airport, I did see someone that looked like me, and I fell out in the middle of the airport. That's a true story. Because
Okay.
I was shocked.
I want to
Just wanna make
apologize
sure.
to the state of Montana for being my example.
Oh.
My bad. John, what would you say is there a AAA title that you feel is doing representation right?
You know, I don't really have any like examples that pop to my mind. I don't have anything really traditional to say, I guess I would say. But like musically speaking, right? You know, you have to give the caveat like, oh, I love all kinds of music, you know, classical, chiptune, rock, whatever. But I'm also an avid fan of hip hop. I love listening to hip hop as my like casual listening music all the time. That new Drake song is amazing. Go listen to it. It's great. And like I was honestly, you know, I don't know how much it meant to me, but the fact that in Sonic Adventure, Knuckles' theme was a hip hop theme actually did mean a lot to me. Like, I was like, oh, all right. And, you know, there's kind of the implication that all of these themes are kind of like connected to each character's like personality. So I was like, oh, all right, Knuckles, that's interesting. And then Sonic Adventure 2, they have like all of his stage music is like hip hop, maybe like mild R&B, like Death Chamber a little bit, I don't know. But that was cool. I was into that. Like it's small, it's slight, and it was something. And it was kind of the first something actually that I really experienced, to tell you the truth. So that was, you know, it was cool. I was into that.
Nice. Cal, would you say that there are any situations now in AAA companies where you see representation done right?
It's getting better, but I think it has a long way to go still. I mean, I would say this. I think I'm gonna get some heat for this, but I think Final Fantasy VII Remake was incredibly well done. I still wasn't 100% pleased with how they got Barrett done, his voice actor. It just felt a little campy to me. It felt like they still had this, okay, a big black guy, we're gonna give him this voice, it's gonna sound over the top, kind of doofy, almost like a cartoon character. But he was a lot better than, you know, some other characters that we've seen in terms of like the kind of stereotypical black male. But even then, I see that this trope is kind of played a lot, right? In Gears of War, we had Augustus Cole again, black guy, kind of not sounding really too smart, like has a couple of screws loose, but he's like over the top, really energetic, almost like a theatrical kind of character. I just want to see less and less of that as like time goes on. But I think that the women are killing it. I think that the black women in video games are completely doing good so far. I think that they have more of a stronger representation of just being that kind of dominant figure. I think the men haven't quite caught up to them quite yet.
Word. All right, I got another question, unless anybody else wants to chime in on that one. All right, we're going to move ahead. What is it? Has there any of you, and this is a really, really fun one, have any of you snuck in some audio homages in your works or jobs? Like to things that you loved in the past or anything like that? You ever snuck in a little melody line like, yeah, that was actually Drake, nice for what? And then, you know, anything like that ever happen?
Yep.
I will not say.
Definitely through
Nice. Okay, can just get a couple of examples of that. Devlin, have you ever been able to sneak something in?
I'm trying to, let's see. Yes, but, well, it hasn't been released yet. And it's, well, I will say this, though. Homage to Cutman's theme, of course. But it isn't out yet. No one's heard it yet. But it's actually in the, it's actually a waltz. A 3/4 waltz. Setting, let's see, a celebration after it was inspired by the dot hack after you win a tournament, and then they have a little celebrating ball going on. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna write a waltz for this, and totally slipped in second portion of Cutsman theme in there. No one's heard it yet, but yeah, stay tuned for it.
Man. I'm gonna be looking for that.
Nice.
That's my jam.
Nice.
Dorrell, have you ever been able to sneak in anything that from your past?
I've done it a few times, but does it count as sneaking? Or is it more like it's like, yeah, it's sneaking in. I've done it. I'm actually doing it on a newer game I'm working on right now. I've snuck in, like, actually, some of my older stuff. It's like, oh, this melody, just take a little bit of that.
Nice.
Put that in. Tina Turner. Took a bit of Tina Turner.
Okay.
There's one specific song that's like, all right, there's this little part. I don't even know. In my head, it was just I was writing it out, whatever, and it came in. And definitely Pokemon. I write a lot of lyrical, melodic music, so yeah, that's the kind of stuff.
Nice.
But it's all subconscious until I realize, oh wait, this is from this. So.
Nice.
Yeah, it's all a part of you, so it just kind of happens, and then you're like, oh wait, I did. Yeah, okay, I did that. I'm a big fan of finding those like Easter eggs like that. Chase, have you found anything cool like that where you've been able to slip it in?
Way too many times. I mean, Shakan the Forever Man, Street Fighter 2 on Game Boy. It's like, it's 007 on Game Boy, Turok on Battle of Dinosaurs. We got, I could keep going, but I'm not.
Okay, that's funny.
Nice.
John?
I got like 3 examples, 2 that are kind of like a lot more abstract, and then one that's like very specific. I'll do the specific one. If I need a funk bass line, it's gonna be Cutman. It's gonna be the bass line from Cutman. Doot doot. What is it? 5511. Doot 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 doot. Like that's my funk bass line. I'm sorry, that's just what it's gonna be. It's gonna be that. That's where I'm gonna start. I'll take that. Maybe I'll change it. Maybe I won't change it. It's a bass line. Can you copyright a bass line? I don't know. It's 511. It's fine. What are you gonna do? All right. Then I did, and then 2 kind of abstract ones. This one is I did this sort of dynamic music system for this neuroscience game where I wrote different kinds of pieces. So like one track will be divided into like 10 sections. And then like every A can go to every B can go to every C, right? So you're like shuffling the audio, right? So in the actual code for it, I told the programmer like, hey, this is called the sonic shuffle system, right? Because it's shuffling the audio, right? That Dreamcast game that I loved, right? Sonic Shuffle, not bad. And then I did this soundtrack for this VR game that is like an entirely remixed soundtrack. So it's like every piece in the game is a remix of the main theme. And I was like, how am I going to write like 10 remixes of the theme? But Sonic Advance 3 is like every tune has at least like 4 variations. So the techniques that I use to remix the theme over and over again are like the same techniques they used throughout that entire soundtrack.
Took the formula.
Cal, do you have any times where you've slipped in some classic references?
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm a big RPG person. So Golden Sun, Final Fantasy, Star Ocean, all that stuff. I love making battle themes. So I slip in tons and tons of like little references. The Final Fantasy one definitely made appearances in my works. The doodum 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 doodum. People kind of catch it, right? You can find it. It's not. I don't even try to hide it sometimes, but then I just kind of like go crazy and like kind of just throw them off the pace with the next following arrangements. But that's my biggest thing.
Nice. All right, I think we're gonna wrap up there. We may be out of time, but of course we love to continue the conversation. So if you are online, maybe just hashtag Black in Game Audio, and we will be able to check out your comments, your questions, and things like that. And you can find all of us on social media. And I'm going to go around the table really quickly and get everyone's socials. John.
So it's at Slide20XX, SLIDE20XX on Twitter, Instagram, slide20xx.com, etc., etc.
Calbert.
I am at Schematist, SCHEMATIST, on every platform, basically. SoundCloud, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff.
Chase.
I am at Chase Bethea, Bethea. Google me, you'll find everything you need to see.
Hey.
With the rhyme. Okay. Dorrell.
Dorrell Ettienne, DORRELLETTIENNE. I know,
Ooh,
sounds crazy.
it's fire. That
It's
was
the same
good.
everywhere. Find me anywhere. That's how we roll.
That's good. That's good. Devlin.
That's Devlin Samuels. 2 words. DEVLON across all platforms. Nothing fancy.
Okay, well, go and follow them all. Make a new friend. We hope to continue the conversation, maybe even have, moving forward, another panel where we could open up the conversation to include, of course, women, to include non-binary folks as well. So we want to continue on and fight for diversity and representation throughout all media, particularly in game audio. So again, my name is Raheem, aka Mega Ran. Yeah, that's my name. And we want to thank you for joining us for PAX 2020 at home. Now go put some pants on. Peace.